Hi class, this is a quick video to go over homework problem number 6 from the section 3.2 homework. The problem number is 3.2.31. This is the problem that I have. Yours will be randomly generated to be slightly different. We're told that the weight of an organ in adult males has a bell-shaped distribution. We're given a mean and standard deviation, and we want to use the empirical rule to determine the following. So we need to make note of the mean and the standard deviation. And the first question is pretty straightforward. We know from the empirical rule that 95% of the values will be within 2 standard deviations of the mean. So that means the lower bound will be the mean minus 2 times the standard deviation, and the upper bound will be the mean plus 2 times the standard deviation. So that's 320 minus 2 times 50, and 320 plus 2 times 50. Work those out, and we find 220 grams and 420 grams. When we look to the other 3 problems, though, these are not as clean and straightforward, and I suggest that you use a number line to help you with these problems. Let me show you what I mean. I'm going to mark the mean at the center of this number line, 320. And then I have 3 marks to the right for 3 standard deviations. Add 50 to 320 and we get 370. Add 50 to that and we get 420. And then again to get 470. Moving to the left, subtract 50. 320 minus 50 is 270. Subtract another 50 to get 220. And then finally do it again to get 170. Now the empirical rule tells us that 68% of the values will be within 1 standard deviation of the mean. Because this distribution is symmetrical, we can split that in half, and we know that roughly 34% of the values will be between 320 and 370, and the same between 270 and 320. We also know that 95% of the values will be within 2 standard deviations of the mean. Since we've used 68% inside here, that leaves us with 95 minus 68, or 27%, in the next 2 groups. If we divide that in half, we see that 13.5% will be between 370 and 420, and the same thing on the other side, between 220 and 270. Within 3 standard deviations, there's 99.7% of the values. The difference between 99.7 and 95 is 4.7%. And when we split that in half, that tells us that 2.35% will be in each of these 2 areas. And then finally, outside of 3 standard deviations, we only find 0.3%. Dividing that in half, we get 0.15% in the 2 outside regions. Now, we can use this number line to help us answer any question, like in B, what percentage will be between 170 and 470 grams? Now we just have to start at 170, go to 470, and add all of these percentages. That works out to be 99.7, by the way. For part C, less than 170 grams or more than 470 grams, that is this piece and this piece. Add those together, you get 0.3%. And then finally, between 170 and 420 grams, now we'll only go up to 420 instead of 470. So we're going to add 2.35% plus 13.5% plus 34 and 34%, and finally plus 13.5%. If you add those up, you'll get 97.35%. Now your problems will be slightly different because the boundaries will be different, but if you set up this number line with the same percentages listed every time, you'll find the empirical rule a little easier to deal with.